tell us about yourself? Give us a brief summary.
Well, let's see. I'm in my 40s. I have been married several times and I have several children. Um, uh, all girls, to be exact. Let's see. That's kind of like, I mean, as brief as you can be. Um, I mean, I've done some crazy things.
I guess I don't really want brief.
Okay, well, what do you want? You ask me, and I'll give you.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you as straightforward answers as I can.
Let's start from your childhood. What was your childhood like?
Okay, so my childhood. It's I guess there's different ways to explore that because I feel like as a child you feel like your whole world is like awesome because my parents were married. You know, you live in this castle where it's like you have a normal family. You're the all-American family, you know. My brothers played football, basketball. My dad was the coach. My mom ran the baseball little league, and I danced. So from the outside looking in, we were a normal family. But it's like when my parents got divorced, they hid stuff from us so well that when they got divorced, it was like peeling an onion back. It was just secret after secret, nightmare after nightmare. It was like you wish you could just go back to just not knowing, you know? So it was like, and again, this is like my parents were getting divorced back in like I guess you could say the late 80s when divorce still was not like a big thing. It was still kind of a no-no subject. So like there was no parenting classes. So they did not know what they were doing. And they really screwed up. I mean, like, and it just got worse because even after the divorce, you realize, like, damn, my parents were some shady people when they were married.
How so?
Well, like, come to find out, my dad embezzled money, and my mom says she doesn't know anything about it. And my mom, and hopefully she doesn't listen to this. But anyways, from the baseball little league that she was president of, my dad embezzled money, and he went
into the baseball league.
Yeah, from the baseball little league.
How?
I don't even know how. Like all I know is, okay, so my dad. Okay, I was 11 years old. My dad sits us all down. He's like, you know, me and your mom can't do it anymore. We're getting divorced. Blah blah blah. So he walks out and leaves, and that's it, right? And then we don't see him for a while, and then every so often we hear something about him. Like he'll send us a card, right? Well, we had no idea what was going on. Like my mom was like, your dad just doesn't want to see you. And we were in the car one day on the 91 freeway and we're sitting there. You know, like how they have like the prisoners or the jail people come out and clean the highways?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're sitting in the car, right? And my brother's like, hey, he's all, is that Dad? And I look over and I was like, what? And I was like, Mom, is that Dad? She's like, no. And so she's trying to speed off. And I was like, me and my brother look at each other like, bro, I think that was Dad.
That's funny.
In an orange jumpsuit picking up trash on the highway. Like, and we just kept telling ourselves like, no. So, come to find out, I did not find this out until I was an adult. That's like, my parents only wanted to share secrets that would like, I think destroy each other. They never which kind of takes me back to why I kind of don't know if I believe my mom didn't know my dad was embezzling money. Mm-hmm. But yeah, years later when I confronted my dad about, you know, where were you all those years? Like you just left and then we didn't see you. And then all of a sudden you're married to this woman and come to find out my dad went to prison. He went to federal prison. And that's why we didn't hear from him.
For what?
For embezzling money.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, he was being looked at. And according to what my dad has told me, he basically went down for everything because he didn't want to leave us orphaned. So, because if my mom went down, like, they had to figure out who was going to raise us.
What did he do with embezzling money?
Well, like
how did he get caught?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. I haven't got, my dad's never gotten into detail about that. And because my mom supposedly doesn't know, she can't really tell me. But it just basically, I think it comes down to, because you got to think, this is back in the 80s. And nothing was computerized. It was all in books. So you could doctor the books. You know, like somebody would pay, you know, $60 for the kid to play, you know, soccer, or baseball. And you put down on the books that they paid $60, but you could somehow take out like $10 or, you know, something like that. Things like that, you know. So, yeah, that happened. Like I said, it was just crazy because we had no idea. And, yeah, and that just became a shit show with my parents and the divorce. So, and because of all that went down, there was a lot of things that happened to, I think, just all of us kids in general, that we kind of pushed down and suppressed a lot of memories because there was too much going on the top surface to kind of deal with what was going on deep down inside. So, yeah.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I found out later, recently, actually, about a year ago, I realized that there was this kid that was good friends with my family. His whole family was friends with ours. And they had a son that was like the same age as my brother. And come to realize that he had pretty much molested me in the back of my mom's Suburban. And I would have like visions of it. I would have dreams about it. And I just kept playing it off like, oh no, I'm losing it. And then I realized, I remember having a conversation with my mom about it, and neither one of my parents believed me. So, yeah, that was something. And then my mom, in the midst of this divorce, I think my mother just absolutely fell apart. Again, this is back in, you know, I've come to terms with my parents' divorce, but because I think people don't realize that your generation thinks like divorce is the same it was back in the 80s, the late 80s and stuff. And it really wasn't. Like, they didn't make these parents take parenting classes. They didn't, they weren't really making them do anything. And, you know, parents were using their kids as pawns, and just, you know, my mom just didn't know how to handle it. She fell apart, like big time fell apart, you know. My mom basically laid on the couch and smoked cigarettes and watched soap operas. And, you know, the house was pretty messed up. She stopped cooking. She stopped cleaning. We had piles of laundry. And then she decided to go to therapy. And this was at the height of Prozac. This is like back when they had first come out with Prozac. And my mom was on it. And it was like the definition of night and day was my mother. Like, like 1 minute she's laying on the couch and, oh, I can't go on with my life. And like, we're like having to walk down to KFC and Carl's Jr. to get food because she won't cook. And just decides one day, gets up and she's like, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go to cosmetology school. Like, Mom, you're like 35 years old, dude. So she went back to school. And I mean, I think for me, when I look at it, I think my parents felt like they missed, you know how when you get out of high school, like what you're doing, like you're journeying, you're taking an adventure. Like, my parents didn't do that, because back then you got out of high school and, you know, then you got married. If you weren't going to college, you got married and had kids. So like my parents missed out like that whole thing. And I guess they figured, I mean, somebody would raise the kids. So my mom went back to college, and my dad lived like he was 18 is the best way to describe it. So, yeah, I mean, in the process of that, you know, 11-year-old Jolyn has to get up and start taking care of her brother and sister. 12 years old, I start smoking pot. You know, 13 years old, I was experimenting with cocaine, dabble a little bit of heroin. was sneaking out of the house, going to parties, going to whatever I could find, anything to get me away from my house. You know, I was partying with kids that were in high school. We were partying with kids up in, you know, L.A., Beverly Hills, getting smashed with them. I mean, I was 14 years old, coming home at like 5 in the morning, smashed. So, because my mom didn't care. I mean, I bragged to my mom about stealing my grandma's car, and she was like, she didn't really do anything. Mm-hmm. She caught us sneaking in the house. I mean, I took her Suburban and drove it around and then ran over her rose bushes. I thought it was hilarious. She didn't think it was funny, but, yeah, I mean, and it just, you know, for me, I guess you could say that was kind of where it started for me, was my version of an adventure, you know, because I didn't have anybody teaching me anything else. I had to figure everything out on my own. So that's kind of, my childhood was great when my parents were together. They kept a lot of secrets from us. We were typical American family, you know. My parents got divorced and it became a shit show, and I became one of those, I guess you could say, statistics kids, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that.
So, I mean, and that was kind of the norm for a lot of kids that were going through divorce. And, you know, I mean, my friends whose parents were still married didn't want to be friends with me anymore. So I leaned more towards, like, troubled kids. Like, it wasn't even that their parents were divorced. Like, some of my friends' parents were, like, you know, in gangs and they got shot and killed, or they were in prison. So I just bonded with these kids. Like, who else am I going to bond with? Nobody else is going to understand me but these kind of kids. You know, I mean, and of course, they were troubled kids. You know, you run with trouble, you're going to get in trouble. So, you know, I mean, my mom says that when I was 14, she shipped me off to Texas because, you know, it was going to be better for me and she couldn't handle me. But deep down inside, I think the truth is that she wanted to move in with my stepdad, and she knew that as long as I was around, that I was basically going to lose my shit over her doing that. And so I think it was her way of kind of getting rid of me. So she shipped me off to Texas. And, you know, in the meantime, in the process of me going through what I was going through, the dance studio I was at, my mom allowed my 15-year-old brother to move in with my dance teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was interesting.
How so?
Because I think everybody at the dance studio, and I mean, even I knew that, I mean, there was, you know, it was a sexual relationship.
Wait, so how old are these people?
She was like 30.
30 and he's 15?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Your brother gives me those kind of vibes when I met him the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and it just really, like, he was living with her, and, like, it was pretty much a relationship. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, that's another part of my childhood. Like, for me, all my life, all I had was dance. It was one outlet I had to get away from my family, and especially during all that divorce and everything that was going on, you know, I always had dance. And then my mom put my brothers in dance, and that just pissed me off. And then when my brother basically was having a relationship with my dance teacher, it was like I had to go to the dance studio, and everybody would look at me knowing. Like, people, it was like I got treated like shit, dude. And whenever we have, like, auditions for, like, competitions or, like, you know, special dances, and I would try out, like, she wouldn't give them to me because she was like, I don't want to play favoritism. So I got screwed again and again because, you know, my oldest brother, who was the golden child, got what he wanted.
He was screwing.
So, yeah. And so, you know, once again, that's snatched from my life. So, I mean, it was just I felt like it was like a domino effect. And it just was one thing after another. And then I honestly say, I mean, my life turned around. As much as it pisses me off that she did that, my life did turn around when I got shipped off to Texas. I think because for the first time, I felt loved, you know. This is real hard to talk about because my aunt has Alzheimer's right now, and that's who raised me after that. But, you know, it was tough love because it was, oh, you're failing, well, you're grounded. And when I would try to fight her back, she would just, you know, she'd come back at me. And I think it was shocking. I think it was surprising for me because nobody ever gave a shit about me. And she did. And so, yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong. There was still some, you know, a little bit of downfall. I'm still bringing a little bit of my life from California. But, you know, I stepped up. Because all she ever asked for me was, you know, just go to school and pass your classes. That's it. That's all I ask. I don't expect you to be on A/B honor roll. I don't expect the world. Just go to school. And she's like, and we'll figure out the rest, you know. And she knew I was heartbroken about the fact that from the time I was, you know, 2.5, 3 years old, all I knew how to do was dance. So, you know, I know it broke her heart when we were at this church thing, and all the kids were playing volleyball, and they asked me to play, and I was like, no, I can't play, and they were like, why not? And I was like, because I don't know how to play volleyball, and they were like, how do you not know how to play volleyball? And it broke my aunt's heart because she realized like my mom was so caught up in her marriage and my oldest brother that she neglected the rest of us. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. So yeah, my life turned around in Texas. So.
What is it like to be 14 and shoot up heroin?
It's, well, at the time I didn't think anything different.
How did you come across that?
A dealer. I was somebody I was selling weed for.
So you're selling weed too?
Yeah, I was selling weed in school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had to make money because, I mean, yeah, my grandma gave me money. Of course, and my grandma was the one that moved into the house and took care of us. And God, don't let me forget to say that because that woman deserves just as much credit as anybody else. She came in and she was living with us. But, I mean, she's grandma, you know. I mean, and she wasn't like a hard grandma. She was that grandma, like, Grandma, I have math, and I don't know how to do math. And she'd be like, okay. And with the intent of sitting down helping me and then wind up just doing it for me. So, you know, she was, God rest her soul, I love that woman. But, you know, I mean, she was a 70-year-old woman taking care of kids. Like, that wasn't her job.
Yeah.
And again, that's another thing, like, in this generation, in this era, it's a common thing to see grandparents raising their grandkids. Yeah. And it's like, but back then, Jacob, that was not common. That was unheard of. You know what I mean? So, like, this is a woman who, she went through the Depression. She went through women's rights. You know, this is a woman who, you know, fought to be able to work and vote and everything like that, and was a part of that whole, you know, she was born in 1918.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You know, so.
World War II as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, she lived a life. She'd already been living by then. So, I mean, to be in her 60s, 70s and have to step into a household and raise these 3 kids, because there's me and then my brother and my sister. And they were young. So, I mean, it was easier for her to control them than it was me. I think it was like she just loved me and just loved me through it. I think that's all she knew how to do. She was great though. But yeah, so I was selling drugs in school. Kind of ends to a mean. I don't even know. I mean, it's not like I was like homeless or something.
Yeah.
But and then speaking of homeless, you know, we took off and we lived on the streets for a while. That was a joke.
At what age?
I was 14.
14, living on the streets.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was stupid. That's what it was. Looking back at my life, like I look at, you know, my other girls, and I'm like, I would kill them. Like, I would just outright just choke the life out of him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it goes to show, like, my parents did not care. They did not care. I mean, we took off, and my mom didn't even know we were gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back strolling. Like,
yeah, I remember you telling me that story.
yeah, and I remember I looked at my siblings, and I was like, was Mom worried? They're like, Mom didn't even know you were gone.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, cool. That's cool. So, yeah, I mean, again, this, you know, it's, I feel like life was just so much different back then than it is, like, even for kids nowadays, you know. We didn't have social media. We didn't know the dangers. Like, I mean, I stole my grandma's car to go to a party out in Long Beach, and we got to the gas station, and I just remember I looked at my friend. I was like, "Bro, we can't go all the way there. We don't have a driver's license. Like, this is a really bad idea." And we saw these two dudes walking, and then we were like, "Hey, you guys have a driver's license?" They're like, "Yeah." We're like, "You guys want to drive my grandma's car? We're going out to this party." And they're like, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea who these dudes were. Never met them in my life. Two strangers. And I mean, we didn't think anything of it. You know, you as that kid, you think you're invincible. Like, oh, like, psh. And again, it's not like we were hearing stories about teenage girls getting picked up and raped or murdered. You know what I mean? We were just living our life. It wasn't until I got older and just, I remember the first time I watched Dateline or 2020, and I was like, how did we not get murdered? How? Yeah. Like, these dudes could have done anything to us, and nobody would have known any different. So, I mean, we hitchhiked, too. We hitchhiked out to Los Angeles. And where we lived, that was like 45 minutes, dude. So, I mean, that's, like, stupid. Mm-hmm. But we didn't think anything of it. You know, we were young, stupid. I was running the streets. God knows what could have happened to us, you know? So, yeah. So that was interesting.
Did you graduate high school?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after high school?
I went to cosmetology school.
Did you pass that?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Why aren't you using that right now then?
Well, that's a story. That's another story. Mm-hmm. That involves my ex-husband. So, I graduated high school, graduated with honors. I actually could have graduated a year early, and I didn't because my cousin was graduating, and I didn't want to take that thunder from her. Mm-hmm. So I waited another year, and I graduated. And my senior year basically was like just a blow-off year. I went to like the most easiest classes you could think of. Mm-hmm. And then I went to cosmetology school, and I met my first husband. And
how many husbands have you had?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay.
3. And then, so I met my first husband in college. Was not, I mean, I think it was just more, me and him had this understanding, like, this is just fun, you know. Of course, I met his parents, but once I passed my my bar and I got my license.
Wait, bar?
Well, yeah, because I have to go take the cosmetology bar. I have to go.
Oh, I just think of like lawyers when I hear the word
bar. No.
So I was like, what the fuck?
So yeah, I had to pass that, and then then I moved out of the town we were living in, and I went to a bigger city, and we were kind of still like seeing each other, and then I wound up getting pregnant, and that was not in the plans, because at this point in my life, I realized, like, I need to make a plan. Like, it's good to have plans. Nobody told me, like, okay, you know, sometimes plans don't always go as planned. So I went off, and I was going to, you know, I had this plan. I was like, be a, you know, great hairdresser. I was going to, you know, eventually make my way back to Los Angeles, you know, work for the movie stars, blah, blah. I had everything. I was like, yes, this is how it's going to go. And I was going to start off small and work myself up. Then I got pregnant. So, you know, 20 years old, get pregnant, still 20, have a baby. I mean, my 21st birthday was spent, I was basically nursing my child. I couldn't even drink. I think I had a daiquiri, but I had pumped. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And that marriage lasted about 2.5 years.
Why did it end?
Just it never should have happened in the first place. He only married me because I was pregnant. So, and I think I don't know if I just was like, maybe this will turn out for the best. But I wasn't happy. He was actually in aviation, and he started flying, and then he was gone a lot more. So then, like, he would be gone, 2 days, 2 or 3 days, and he'd come back, and he would just come home, change, and then go hang out with his fraternity friends. And I've been home, like, with my kid and by myself, and he doesn't, like, he never. I think at one point we just kind of realized, like, this marriage is going nowhere. So yeah, that ended, and then I went back to working in the hair salon and was doing that for a while. And along the line, I met my second husband, and that was an interesting story because my first husband was, like, kind of verbally abusive. Like, he would just be real harsh about stuff. I was eating a steak one day, and I had ranch dressing, and I was dipping it, and he just made the comment, like, "You're just gonna keep getting fatter." So that's, he was just an asshole. Mm-hmm. So I just remember thinking, like, oh,
you want some water?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And so then I meet my second husband. And when we first started dating, he was great. I mean, so nice. And, he loved my daughter, was really great to her. He was young, but I kind of looked past that. And right off the bat, I got pregnant. Like, I mean, we weren't even dating, I think maybe a couple months, and I got pregnant right off the bat. So he wound up moving in with me, and, at first, everything was great. Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was wonderful. There was little things that I looked past that, looking back, hindsight's 20/20. But
what was the first red flag?
Because
obviously I know everything almost, but I want you to still, like, tell everything, right? But, like, so, like, what is the first red flag?
So I guess, okay, well, there's two ways to look at this. Like, okay, so the first red flag that I should have noticed, but because I didn't know anything about abuse, should have been the first time he kept me from leaving the room. Mm-hmm. And he would grab me. It was little things like that. And that's kind of where it should have started. But the first red flag that I knew this wasn't going to be real, this wasn't going to turn out for me, was I was like 6 months pregnant, and he was standing outside, and I went outside, and I yelled at him because I was just pissed. And now, mind you, at this point, it's just been little things, and he's even threatened, like, oh, if you leave me, like, I'll kill myself. And that should have been another flag. But again, because I wasn't raised in this, and wasn't being made aware to girls.
It's also the 80s, too.
No. This was like because
even then, just like back then, like,
it still wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
And not like even in 99 and 2000 and 2001 and 2002, this still was not being talked about. I mean, half the time the police weren't even taking it serious when these women would have restraining orders or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So again, complete shock when I walk back in the house and I turn around and he's right there on my ass. Mm-hmm. And he, out of nowhere, he just slaps the shit out of me. Like, he slapped me so hard I went to the ground and it kind of busted my nose. And of course, my initial first thought was, I'm out. I went and packed my bags. I was like, no man is ever going to hit me. So, you have that thought. And then he comes in and he's crying. And at this point, he's built it up. The best way to describe it is it's almost like, child molesters that groom children. That's what he had done to me. He had basically been grooming me and like manipulating me and telling me these stories about his poor childhood, and his dad was abusive and he didn't know anything else, and he wanted to be a better man than his dad. So when he walks in and he's on his knees and he's bawling and he's begging me not to stay, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that, I know better. You believe him and you want to believe it. And I just happened to be in the position to where I had just gotten divorced, and I promised myself that I would not bring another child into this world being, in a divorce situation, because I knew what it was like. Like, parents really need to understand, when you get divorced, you have to pay attention to everything that goes around and your children see, because it can alter everything about how their future plays out. You know what I mean? Had my parents not been such self-centered, selfish assholes, I don't know if I would have been the same way about marriage or in divorce that I was. You know what I mean? But I was like, you wanted to look past it. You wanted to, okay, well, maybe it's just this one time. And you at that point, that's when the light bulb clicks for them that, because he said, it just, if you wouldn't have came out yelling at me, it just triggered me. And then I realized, like, well, maybe it was my fault. Mm-hmm. And from there, it's just an 8-year war. I wouldn't even say it was a war. It was literally a battle. It just became me trying to survive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And, 3 kids out of that. Yeah.
Mind telling the people how many kids you have?
I have 7.
7 kids.
7.
What's that like?
It's crazy. It's like, it's almost like a circus. It's like a mental hospital sometimes, I feel like. It's definitely there. It's never, you've been to my house, it's never a quiet moment in my house. So, yeah, they're pretty, I will give them this. My kids are I'm very proud of them. I know that they piss me off sometimes, but I am very proud of them. They're resilient children to be and gone through what, especially the 2 older ones with my second ex-husband, and especially the oldest one, what she experienced and what she witnessed her dad do to me. The fact that she's turned out the way she has, I don't think I could have asked for anything better with any of them. So, yeah, my oldest one, that kid, I love her, but boy, she's just something else. She just, you just shake your head. You're just, okay.
Mm-hmm. What's she doing?
She's in a sober living right now. She's trying to get her life back on track. I am proud of her of that. So, it takes a lot. You got to have the strength, not just, physically, mentally, and emotionally, because, when you've adapted to a certain way of life, it's hard to adjust and change, because it just becomes so easy. It's so easy to just get high, and it's so easy to be bad than it is to be good. So, yeah. So, yep.
Can you tell us that rock bottom story?
Well, which one? There's so many.
Just whatever you think of.
So I guess we can start with the very first one. The rock bottom for me was when I was 14, and the initial reason I realized I needed to come off drugs, I think, is when you start losing people around you to overdose, you kind of realize, like, shit, this can happen to me. And especially when it goes down in front of you, like literally you have somebody overdose in front of you and nobody does anything about it. Everybody's just like, well, we can't call the cops because then we'll all get busted. And then realizing, like, you have that moment, that aha moment, like, that's not how I want my life to be. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my parents. I think it was not even my parents. I didn't want my grandma to know that that's the way I went out, that I died on some dirty floor or being thrown out of a car in an emergency room and overdosing. And, you know, you go to the funerals and the devastation of these families. I mean, it's a wake of devastation. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I realized, like, shit, Jolyn, you're being really selfish. You know what I mean? Like, are you really thinking about anybody else? Or you just, and it wasn't just my grandma, it was my brother and my sister. I mean, I can't even imagine having them go through losing me like that. So that was kind of a rock bottom. That was one of them. I would have to say with my second marriage, the rock bottom for me was when I was 17 weeks pregnant, and he basically threw me down the stairs. I went into the OBGYN, and the baby was still there, but there was no heartbeat. And I just, the messed up part is that was rock bottom, but it can get deeper than you can even imagine, because I remember coming home, and I think I was just so numb. And I think it was almost like you have an outer body experience. I remember sitting there, and he was on his knees crying. Like, he was crying. And I just remember, I thought, I think it took me back to the first time that he ever hit me, and he was crying. And I remember sitting there, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. And, you know, we'll get through this together." And I didn't care. I mean, if he would have walked in front of a bus and died, I don't think I would have cared. To the point, I became so numb that I was on the couch that night, and he just was being his typical self. He came out to the couch. He was trying to, like, get up on me, and I was like, no, like, get away from me. And I had this thought, I'm never going to get out of this. Unless he kills me or I kill him. And, so I grabbed a knife, and I walked in the room, and I was standing over him, and I had full intentions on plunging that knife into him as many times as it would take, because I knew it was never going to end. And I think my thought was, it has to end, and I don't know how else to do it. Because, I mean, I had walked away. So many times, Jacob. And I always came back, because it was almost like he became my drug. I needed it. Mm-hmm. Why, I don't know. I mean, I know now. I didn't know then. And my youngest one woke up. She was in the room with us, and she woke up. She was having a bad dream. And I think it was almost like, it's like my whole body just woke up. And I thought, okay. So I took her out to the couch, and we fell asleep. And from that point on, I made the plan in my head that I was going to leave. It was going to happen before the end of the year. And I didn't know when. I didn't know how. I just knew that if I had it in my mind, I'm one of those people that if I set my mind to it, I'm going to do it. I don't know how. And sometimes I don't even have a plan, Jacob. I see some moment, and I'm like, this is great. Let's do it now. And that's kind of what happened. Him and his dad were going at me, basically accusing me of cheating, which, like, I have time to do that. Right. And he backed me into a corner. He beat the crap out of me the day before. And I was in the backyard, and I was talking to a friend on text message, and he was losing it. And I went in the house, and it wasn't just his dad, it was his stepmom and him. They literally backed me into a corner. And I cry every time I talk about this, but the girls were outside, and I walked out to the back, and I said, I told them, I said, I love you guys, and I'm going to get you guys back. I said, I'm not leaving forever. I said, I love you, but I got to go. And I walked. I didn't even look back. I didn't look at him, nothing. I walked out to the front door and I just walked. I just kept walking and I could hear them. They were crying and they just kept saying, Mom, please don't go. And he was running beside me and he's like, how can you do this to them? Look at them. You're breaking their heart. And I knew if I turned around, Jacob, I knew I was not going to leave. And I knew that it was just never going to stop. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do was walk and keep walking. Even after they were calling out for me, I had to. So that was rock bottom for me. I knew that no matter what, I was going to climb up out of this hole that I had gotten into with him. And I wouldn't even call it a hole. It was like a grave. I felt like it was like a grave I've been digging for myself and just waiting to die at this point being with him. So I just told myself, I will do whatever it takes. I'm going to get myself out of this and I'm going to become a better person and I'm going to give my kids a good life and I'm going to do whatever it takes, but I'm never going back to him. And 13 years later, I'm here.
How'd you get out?
I slept in my car for a while because I needed to save money so I could save up for an apartment. I found an apartment. It was the ghettoest apartment you could possibly. The guy was shot a week after I was living there. And oh God, I remember I got the apartment and I remember they gave me the key and I walked into the door. And I remember standing there and I thought that it was just, I can't explain the feeling. It was just this, like I felt like I could breathe. I felt like somebody had taken the cinder block off my chest and I felt like I could breathe. And it was still a lot of work. I still had a lot of work to do, but walking into my own apartment, knowing that I knew I was going to be okay, because I come from a long line of women who have survived and beat and been a part of stuff that, I think I take a lot of inspiration from my grandma, thinking about her going through the Depression and working for women's rights and being a part of that generation. I felt like I would not do her justice if I fell and didn't get back up. And I needed to make her proud because I feel like I had failed in a lot of stuff that she would never look at me and say I disappointed her. That's not who she was. But I felt like no matter where she was, I wanted her to be proud. And that was from the moment I stepped in that apartment, that was my goal. I need to make my grandma proud. I need to make my kids proud. I need my kids to look at me and say, I want to be like my mom. I want to be as strong and as tough as she is. I don't want to be a victim because I didn't ever want it to be a victim, Jacob. I don't like that word. And I know for other people that's, it works for them. But for me, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, and that's the badge I wear. And I'm proud of that because it's not just surviving him. It was surviving my childhood and surviving a lot of stuff that I went through. So yeah, it took a lot of work. But I'm still working. It's kind of like sobriety. You're always going to be an addict,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's kind of the same thing. It's, I'm always going to be climbing, but at least I'm not climbing out of my own grave. I feel like it's more or less, I'm just climbing over little hills, and I'll take those. I'll take those any day. So I am, right now what's going on in my life, my husband doesn't have a job. He's looking for one. And, we're not struggling, but maybe most people would panic and stuff like this, or they would freak out. I think for me, Jacob, it's kind of one of those things like, it's going to be okay. And believe me, I know it's going to be okay because I've been through worse, so, your life is not, just because you get to a certain point doesn't mean that that's where it stops. Like, you don't have to work hard anymore. maybe you just have to work less as hard. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And there's nothing wrong. I mean, and you can be my age, you can be whatever age you want, but there's never, I don't know where it's set in stone that when you reach a certain age, that's who you are. You can always better yourself. I'm still bettering myself. I mean, there's no book on how to raise kids. There's no book on how to survive an extremely abusive marriage and how you're supposed to come out of this and raise kids out of it. There's no book on this. You figure it out and you pray that you're, God, please don't let me screw up my kids, So, yeah, that's, and I have the most wonderful husband you could ever ask for. We've had our, trials and tribulations and we've been through our stuff, but I would take him over any of the husbands I've had before, over any man that I've ever had. I mean, well, except for my granddad. But I mean, he definitely holds up there with my husband. But I'm truly blessed that I found Casey, because he's been through a lot of stuff with me. So,
how'd you find Casey?
We worked together. We were stalkers. I could not stand him. I actually hated him. He pissed me off, and then just by sheer luck, stars lining, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, he had to give me a ride to the gate because I couldn't get on base because we worked on a base. And
like an army base?
Yeah, it was a military. Yeah, it was the Air Force base. And so I couldn't get on base because my car was not legal. So I would have to go to the gate, and my boss would pick me up, but she couldn't take me to the car that night because because some of our stalkers hadn't showed up. So she was like, well, he's going to take you. And he comes walking around the corner. And I was like, nope, no. I looked at her, I said, no. She said, you don't have a choice. And I was like, She thought, well, you can stay here and help me. She thought, but we going to be here till 6 a.m. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, dear God, why? Out of all the people in this damn place, why you? So, of course, anybody that knows him knows, like, he's very, like, introverted, I guess. He's very quiet. So, of course, like, the whole, like, it was probably like a 10-minute maybe ride, 15-minute ride from the commissary to the gate. And it was, God, he was so quiet. It was so awkward. And all I could think is like, you're an asshole. But
you were an asshole, or he was?
He was.
Okay.
He didn't say a word to me. Not a word, Jacob. So we get to the car, and I was like, thanks for the ride. He's all, And I was like, so I shut the door, and then he had to pick me up a couple of times, and I didn't know this. And I think Carla did this on purpose. I didn't mean to say her name, but my boss, she said she would call me and be like, I can't pick you up, so he's going to pick you up. And I was like, really? So he would, come and pick me up, and he'd be so pissed. I could tell he did not want to pick me up. And I'd get in the truck, and I'd be like, hey. He'd be like, hey. I was like, great. This is going to be a great car ride. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And finally, I don't even remember what it was that initially started this whole conversation. And we just kind of started talking and slowly became friends. And yeah, it was just little things. And then I kind of started he kind of started rubbing off on me, and I was like, he's not too bad. And so I would walk past their aisle because I would have to go see my boss, and we would mouth off to each other. And I knew something was up. And this is, okay, now at this point, I'm like, I've officially walked out, and I'm kind of living in my car, and he doesn't know. Nobody really knows that I'm living in my car. I kind of kept it on the DL. And I knew because he brought me a Red Bull one night. Because when we worked at stock, we were just pounding Red Bulls, because we were up until like 3 a.m. having to stock shelves. So he brought me one over, and it was just little things like that. And then one night he dropped me off in my car. I couldn't get my door open. So he walks over, he opens the door. He's like, are you living in your car? I'm like, yes. So then he takes me to IHOP that night. Well, that morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then he insists that I come and stay at the house. So I stayed the night. And yeah, we at one point we were like friends with benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, maybe this won't work. I have 3 kids. Well, actually, I had 4 at the time, but my oldest one, as you know, was not with me because her dad was not allowing her to see me. So at the time, I only actually had the 3 kids. And I was like, my ex-husband's crazy because at this time, he's still kind of like, he's still trying to call me. He's still like, he's trying to make my life a living hell, basically. He's turned all of our friends against me. He's still, is accusing me of cheating, which I was like, I'm so tired. The thought I don't even want to take a shower.
I live in a car,
Living in a car, bro. So anyways, yeah, so then I kind of pushed because we decided that like, oh, we're not going to do this anymore. And I don't know what it was. Don't ask me because I know a lot of people, like, they see him, and then I tell them the story, and they're like, so why did you go looking for him? I don't know. It just, I think because he was like, what do you call it? He was like standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
playing hard to get.
Yes, that's what I'm trying. Yes, he was playing hard to get, and I think it infuriated me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like when I was younger, like. I mean, I had guys, I had boyfriends, I was a very good looking girl when I was younger. So getting a guy wasn't like a big thing for me, but for him, oh God, he just irritated me. I don't know why. So, I went to his house and he was playing ping pong and I just walked up on his house and I was like, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. And after that, rest is history. We started dating. Eventually, he moved in with me, and that was it. We just kind of had our 13-year history of, good and the bad and the ugly. And, I tell people because, the story behind him is that, he had an addiction problem. He was an addict.
To what?
What's that?
To what?
It was like the opiums, I guess you could say, the Vicodin, Percocet, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I told him like we were done. We got evicted because he had taken our rent money and was buying stuff. And I just remember thinking like I'm not doing this. Like I won't do this. Mm-hmm. And he unlike my second ex-husband. He did step up and he went to NA meetings and he took the steps to getting himself better. And for me, I think I took a step back and thought, I can't keep him. He's not my second husband. You know what I mean? And that's not fair that I can't put him in the same category. Because my thing with my second husband was I used to always say I don't want anybody to think that there wasn't good times. There was, but when the bad outweighs the good way more, then it's just not worth it. And for my husband now, it's different because there's been a lot of good times, and he stuck it out through a lot of hard times with me. Because I fought him back too. I would pick fights with him, and I mean, my husband. Mm-hmm. He's one of those like. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like he'd rather just walk away than engage, and it used to make me so mad. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, he's had his rock bottom, and I think for me and for him both, because of what we've been through in life, I think that's what makes us so compatible is that we understand each other and we understand where each other is coming from, and you know me. I'm hot-headed. Like mm-hmm. My fuse is that short, and he's completely opposite. So I think that's what also makes we're like yin and yang. Mm-hmm. He keeps me calm, and he's the one that's like, I think you might have gone a little overboard. So we make it work, and I don't know where I would be without him. I really don't. And he's been, I mean, if you ask any of the girls, they'll tell you he's been a great stepdad. He's always been there. Even before we moved here, he was always there. He took the girls to doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, and that wasn't his job. I mean, he didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to do anything he did, but he did. So, yep, that's that's where, when you fight for what you want, whether it's to get clean off drugs, to walk away from an abusive relationship, marriage, when you fight for it, it may not show up right away, but it'll eventually, it'll pay off, is there still going to be ugly days? Hell yeah. I mean, life is not perfect. I don't want a perfect life. I don't want perfect children. I don't want perfect anything. I like the chaos. It makes me, I like the pain because it makes me realize I'm still alive and I'm still a human and I can still feel. It's when you stop caring and you become numb that you just kind of start losing perspective of everything, I've been diagnosed with bipolar. I have depression. I have PTSD. And I embrace it, It's who I am, and I'm proud of it, because it's not just from being in an abusive marriage. It's from my childhood. It's from drug use. It's, just a lot of stuff that happened. But I'm still standing, I've managed to pop out 7 kids and survive. I mean, so, I people just need to remember, like, life is not handed to you. If you want it, you got to work for it. If you don't like your life, change the narrative. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, well, no, this is how you have to live your life. I mean, if I did what everybody wanted me to do, or if I followed by everybody else's rules, I wouldn't have 7 children. I wouldn't be where I am. But because I said screw you and gave them the finger, I chose my own path, and I made my own path. Was there some, dips in the road and walls to climb over? Hell yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I live by what that preacher told me when I was in high school, at the Methodist church, He used to tell us, God does not put things in your way that he does not think you can handle. And
yeah, my mom, I'm not a Christian, but my mom, it's right here. It's a little ring my mom gave me. Where is it? Right, this one right here. And inside of it, it says, if God brings you to it, he'll get you through it.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it is true. And, you don't even have to believe in God. You don't have to go to church. You can, even if you believe in, Mother Nature or the universe, you have to come to realize that if it's in your path, there's a reason. And you have to figure out, do you want to fight the fight, or do you want to just throw the towel in? It's your choice in the end. For me, I'm always going to fight the fight because I know what's on the other side. I know. And, sometimes I forget, and sometimes I forget to take a step back and realize what I have and what I've been blessed with or what I've been lucky, however you want to look at it. And sometimes it's some things my kids say, things that my kids do, or things that happen in my life, that I realize, shit, man, I've come a long way. When you think that your kids aren't listening, they repeat things that you've said to them over the years, and you're like, shit, man, they were listening.
Yeah, right. I totally could think of a couple examples of my dad and mom doing that, for sure. Well,
and that's the thing. I mean, for anybody who's listening, like, and this goes for parents and kids. Like, parents, they're listening. I promise you, they are. They are listening. And you may have to repeat it several times, but they'll get it. And for kids out there, just listen. Your parents aren't just talking out their ass. They've lived a life, and they, I know that for my parents, when they talk, I'm like, Jesus, no, just shut up. You guys really like, I think for me, I have no respect for my parents because my parents gave up on us a long time ago. They were letting other people raise us. So for me, it's kind of like when my parents try to school me on like finances or my life or just kids in general, I'm just like, okay, like you take it with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. And I know that my kids are not always, and that's why I tell them, like, look, if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you, and you can take out of it what you want. You can take little pieces out of it if you want, you know. But I'm gonna say what I need to say, and you are not gonna hurt my feelings if you don't take my advice. Like, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to give my kids or anybody the opportunity to look at me and say, well, you should have told me. No. See, I did. You just didn't listen. But I'm never going to be that person that's going to look at you and be like, I told you so. I hate when people do that to me, so I'm not going to do it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I like that. So here's my next question for you. And this is the podcast question. Okay. So, why is there birth? How come it leads to death? And what's the point of the stuff in between? And basically just why is there existence in general? Especially coming from someone like you and your story and just like how much shit you've been through. Mm-hmm. Why?
Okay. Well, in my opinion, okay, I feel like that goes like deep. I mean, like, I feel like at that point you need to smoke a lot of weed to come to that conclusion. But okay, so I'm gonna do my best. So I don't know why there's birth, but and death. I mean, death is inevitable. I mean, it's gonna happen to anybody. But I think the in between. My thing is the in between. You can't. Who wants to be put on this earth and just have just a straight-laced life? No chaos, no adventure, no nothing. Even if it means that some shit is going to happen to you, even if it's bad or it's good, you know, I think the path that you are on after you're born should tell you who you are. And I think people need to take some time. They need to relax, take a deep breath, and think about all the stuff that they've been through, you know, the negative and the positive. Because, I mean, who are we if we don't have a story to tell? You know, I mean, I truly believe that. I believe that everybody has a story. You know, maybe, you know, yeah, of course your story's not going to be like mine. Maybe your story's more interesting. You know what I mean? You know, there's so much more that's in my story. My kids could tell you they're a part of that too. And it just sometimes, I think especially for our family, to have the stories and to be able to sit back and laugh about it, I think is great therapy. Because we laugh at stuff that people are like, I mean, that's like really messed up. Like your dad like beat you up, and they're like, it's not messed up. It's just our way of saying like, yeah, but we're okay. Mm-hmm. We're still here. You know what I mean? And I think the whole point of birth is, okay, let me put it from my point of view. Giving birth to my children has been one of the greatest experiences I have ever had in my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And there's been, I mean, you know, with my last one, that was, oh God, it's like 15 hours labor, and she finally got cut out of me. But I still wouldn't trade it. So for me, I think birth is, and I don't speak for all people. I speak for myself and for women that I know that have experienced it. It's a miracle, and it's when you, not just as a woman but as a man, realize what a woman's body goes through to push that child out to have that baby, not just carrying the baby, but having the baby, what your body goes through, like what you go through mentally and physically. I don't think women realize, like, you're already a survivor. Mm-hmm. Like, just because you don't have like this grandiose story of, you know, drugs or your parents being stupid or, you know, whatever, doesn't mean you don't have a story. Every woman that's given birth has a story. And even women who've had cesareans.
What's that?
Huh?
What's that?
A cesarean?
Yeah.
That's where they cut the baby.
Okay.
Where you have...
That was a C-section.
Yeah, a C-section.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean... So I think that's for me as a mother, that's what I feel like the whole point of birth is, and sometimes it can be very heartbreaking. You know, some women lose babies.
You have.
I have.
What's that like?
That was, that for me wasn't, I didn't deal with it because after it happened, my focus was getting away from him. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have time to grieve. And it wasn't until recently that I came to terms with the fact that, you know, it happened. And when I had the D&C done, which is what they do because my body was not rejecting the baby. It was like not pushing it out. Like there's miscarriages. And I don't think a lot of people know this. Like, there's women who have miscarriages that, like, the baby, like, comes out. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we're talking, like, this big. So you don't even realize. And for some, like, for me, the baby was not delivering, was not happening. So I had to actually go in and have a surgery to have the baby removed. And... Again, one of those moments where I just became, it was like, the whole thing was numb. To be honest with you, it's taken a lot of deep, like, therapy and a lot of, and I can honestly tell you I still haven't dealt with it because I haven't dove in deep to it. I think it scares the shit out of me. I felt like I haven't cried for the loss. I haven't really grieved it because... You go through these stages. For me, it was the stages of, because I lost him, because I found out it was a boy. Mm. And then, so I went through these stages. You know, of course there was denial, you know. And then I think at one point I actually pretended like it didn't happen, because that just made it feel so much better. Mm-hmm. And of course, everybody's trying to tell you how to do it. Well, just make your peace, say goodbye. Like, okay, right, I mean, easy. What you can have, and most of the people that are telling you this don't even, they've never even experienced it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I remember it's kind of like the whole abuse thing. You know, you standing from the outside looking in, you see these women who are being abused, and you're like, why don't they leave? I don't understand. Just leave. Like, you're so stupid. Then you become one of them, and you realize now you know why they didn't leave. Looking at women who've lost children, like, you're like, you know, God, it's been a long time. For me, I mean, it's been 13 years, and I can tell you honestly, Jacob, I can't even tell you how it feels because I don't know. Because I became so numb after that, and then I hit all the stages except for acceptance and grief. I have not come to those because I think that's a step, that's a part of my life. I don't know if I'm ready to. Because I don't know how I'm going to handle losing, like, coming to grips with knowing that happened to me. Like, that's hard, you know? And it's hard on a woman's body because your body knows it's there. Your body knows what's going on. Your mind becomes, you know, wrapped around like, oh, there's a baby. There's a heartbeat. We have you know, and that's why, like, everything... Like, pregnant women kind of become sick. Their immune system shuts down because they're working for the baby. Like, and everything. Like, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything is surrounded about the baby. You know, like, of course, mom's important. You know, we got to keep her somewhat healthy. But the baby, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. So when you become pregnant, I mean, you mentally start preparing for like, oh, this is a baby. Like, I got to take care of myself. I got to make sure of course I was, I'm not one of those like health people that like feels like no coffee. Like, no, I'm going to kill somebody if I don't get coffee. Like, I gave up drugs and smoking cigarettes. I'm not giving up coffee. If I have to eat the grinds, the grounds, I will, because that's what I feel like I have to go to sometimes. So I think, it's funny that you say that, because it's something I actually have been wanting to talk to my therapist about, because I think, when you start feeling like, it's almost like looking at an x-ray or like a thing of your body where you see these red spots, and slowly the red they start going away and they become yellow because your body's healing. And, when you're mentally not okay, your body feels it. And you have aches and pains. And I don't even know why. I didn't even do anything. It's because mentally your body is telling your mind is telling your body like something's wrong. Like you got to get it fixed. And I think that's where a lot of my pain in my body comes from, is that my mind, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to, like, I feel like it's a door I'm not ready to open. Mm-hmm. It's right there, but I'll just walk past it and I'll open all the rest of them. But I just can't. I don't know why it is.
Save that one for season 2.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think it's something I've been avoiding talking to my therapist about. Mm-hmm. I think I try to bring up everything else but that, because it just makes me sad. And I know for my girls, they it's funny because, my 15-year-old, she tries to represent him in the way of like, oh, my mom has 7 girls, but there's also a boy. And, the other 2 kind of like, oh, don't talk about that. And I feel like that's on me. Like that's my fault, because I have left that subject untouched. And so none of them know how to approach it. They don't know, like, is it going to make her sad? Or is she going to be okay? Is it going to be something else we can later on in life laugh about? So I can't expect my girls to understand if I don't understand. So that's something, I think it's a valid point that you asked me, because I can't tell you, because I have honestly not come to terms with it. Dealing with everything else that was going on, I just put it in the back of my mind. Because in my mind, if I don't think about it, then either it wasn't real or I'll be okay. But in reality, it's just a part of my body that I need to deal with, because, I don't want that red flashing light on my body. I want my body to be healed.
Gotta be happy, healthy.
You gotta be, yes, exactly. So, happy mom, happy home, and I'm getting there. Mm-hmm. So it's not easy, but I'm getting there.
What advice do you give to the younger generation?
Well, I mean, what though? Like,
I mean, I don't even, like, you're asking me, how am I supposed to say on what?
Well, I mean, like, what would be, like, if your generation could ask my generation something?
No. I guess, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Just what advice, like I can't choose just one subject.
Okay.
Like, obviously I can, but it's hard to choose one subject. You've been through so much: drugs, abuse, abortion, 3A's, right?
Yes.
Or not abortion.
No, actually, I have had an abortion.
There you go. Even then. So it's like, I can't choose.
Well, I mean, I think just live your best life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best advice I think I would tell my girls. I've told my girls, like, I just want you to live your best life. I want you to one day look back and think, okay, like, yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy where I landed, when I jumped, because that's the best way I've described it to people. When you decide when we moved from here, when we moved from where we were to here, we took a leap. We jumped, and thank God I have the husband I do, because he jumped with me. And sometimes you don't always land on your feet. Sometimes you got to get up. We were lucky enough that, we landed. We stumbled, but we landed, and we eventually got up on our feet. And just remember, of course you're going to fall. Of course you're going to stumble. But what's life without jumping? You got to jump. Take it. And live your best life you possibly can. If somebody would have told me that, I don't know if I would have, maybe my life would have been different, but I try to make sure that my kids or my kids' friends, I try to give them as much advice as I can, and just basically just live your best life. Live to the fullest. Don't have any regrets. And you don't want to be in a moment where you think, man, I should have said this or I should have done this, because it'll eat you. It'll eat you alive. And I think ever since I left my second husband and I stepped into that apartment, I told myself, no matter what, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to do it no matter what, because I don't want to live with regret. Because I feel like looking back, if I just walked out and left him, it would have been different. And to answer anybody's question, would I go and change it if I could? No. No, I wouldn't change anything about my life.
I think that's really common with a lot of people, is that the regrets and the non-regrets make who they are. So why would you want to change it?
Exactly. I've heard people say, like, oh, if I could go back and change this, I would. I've thought about it. No, I wouldn't. Because you change one thing, you alter something else.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah. And I don't want that, because thinking about my life without my husband or my children, it breaks my heart. Thinking about how my life has turned out, the people that I've met, you guys, it breaks my heart, and I don't want that. So one little change, and it could change everything, and I don't want that, and I even with everything that happened, even the bad and the ugly, I love my life. I love the way it's turned out, and I'm not even done. I still have a lot of living to do.
How old are you?
I'm 42. And halfway there, and I'm still living. I'm just, I look at my grandparents, and my grandma lived her best life. She finally passed away at 91. And she had heartbreak, and she had a lot of ups and downs, but I think in the end, she would probably say that she lived her best life. And I think that's all I ever want for my kids, for my friends, for my family. Just live your best life, and always remember, when you get down and you get so low that, you think about suicide, or you think you'll be better off, or everybody would be better off, take it from me. I've seen the ripple effect of suicide, especially from a parent's point of view. You don't realize, they may not say it every day, and they may not show it, but you are loved. Somebody loves you, and you will be missed. And
and if I can add in, it's you really never know what's around the corner.
Yes.
You don't.
Exactly.
It is sad to hear about that kind of stuff, because it's taking the water off the pot before it's boiling.
Yes.
You just have so much potential.
Yeah.
But you just like that.
Gone. You could walk around the corner, and you could change somebody's life with your story. You've hit rock bottom, and you're thinking about suicide, and you get so close that you're almost there, but then you say, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe there's something out there. And one day you could be telling your story and save somebody's life. So think about that. People need to think about that, because you could save somebody's life, even if it's just one person. Your story could just completely change somebody's life, because they could be down and out. They could be down and out, and listening to your story on a podcast, or just listening somewhere, or know you and just hear your story and think, man, you know what? He's right. You could, I mean, you could go walk. I mean, you never know what's going to happen the next day. You could get up the next morning and think you could walk outside and meet somebody that
find the love of your life. Find $1 million.
Exactly. You just never know. You can't, you know, you got to buck up, you know, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And, you know, I think one of the things it's been said to me, and I think because I've sat in a hospital several times and I watched my 5-year-old cousin who never even got to go to kindergarten, never got to really experience a lot of stuff that 5-year-olds do. She died of cancer. I think that was one of those moments where you realize, I mean, that could be my life, you know?
Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
That's really funny. That's not funny, but
no, I know what you mean.
it's coincidental that you say that because I was talking to one of your daughters today, right? And we were talking about kind of the same subject about what is fair, right? And I literally said these exact words. I said, I think kids die of cancer, and I pointed at her, so you appreciate that you're alive. Yeah. And I think that's true. Same thing with, like, the Holocaust. Like, obviously these are fucked up things we're talking about and shouldn't, hopefully, pray to God it never happens again to anyone, but it's like, it's going to happen. And it's there for you to appreciate that, holy shit, I'm able to walk outside and breathe, right? Oh, yeah. Johnny Depp said, celebrate every single breath.
Celebrate it like it's your last one.
There you go.
Celebrate live your life like it's the last one. I mean, you get up every morning and no matter what happens, you go to bed knowing I'm still alive. And when you wake up, be glad you woke up that morning. Because I think for me, and my mom has said this to me, and I used to think it was really harsh, like, Mom, that's messed up. But then I realized she had a point. When I'm down and out and I feel sorry for myself, I think it could be worse. I could be sitting in a hospital watching my child die of cancer. And that is something I never want to experience. I could be I could be a widow. My husband could be dead and left me with all these children to raise, and I'm struggling, you know? So, yes, everything I've been through to this day, I'm still grateful that I'm alive, that I am healthy. My children are alive and healthy. And I'm grateful that I have what I have in life. I don't have riches. I don't have fancy cars. I don't live in a mansion. I have a roof over my head. I have a car that runs. I have a husband who loves me like I'm a goddess of the gods, and loves my children. I am blessed to have the children that I have because they're beautiful. They're smart. They're intelligent. And are they going to have good and bad days? Are they going to make bad choices? Of course they are, you know, but I'm going to love them through it because that's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted was for my parents to love me through everything, but they didn't. But that's okay because I'm still standing here. And because of my parents' choices, I made the choice to do the opposite of what my parents did. And so, you know, if anybody's listening, if you're down and out, you're not alone. You are not alone and feeling like you don't matter in this world, because I've had those moments. And I have children, Jacob. I have children. And yet I've still felt alone. I felt like nobody else knows how I feel. And I've been down and out. And have I had thoughts of suicide? Yes. When I was with my ex-husband, I thought my kids would be better off. You know, I would be better off because to me, there was no other way out. But I know, I don't know if it was who it was. There was just this little voice in my head that was just telling me, like, just get up. You got to, first step is pull yourself up. You got to climb up and stand up. And that's hard. When you're down and you're depressed, that's hard. Even just standing up, getting out of that bed is hard. But you got to do it. And once you do that, then you just take one step. One step at a time. Just make it to the kitchen. Make it to the bathroom. You know, wash your face off. It's the little things that matter that's going to make or break how you get through the rest of the day. You know, just do little things, you know. Bust open some crackers. Eat some saltine crackers.
Watch Dateline.
Watch some Dateline. I promise you, you gonna hear somebody's story on there and realize,
Right, I watched To Catch a Predator show with Chris Hansen. I'm like, God damn it, these are some weird motherfuckers. And I don't feel so bad.
Right? Oh man. Well, it's like when you watch Dateline, you're just like, you guys couldn't just get a divorce?
Yeah.
Like, you literally killed your wife when you could have you would be out of prison and living your life. But you had to kill your wife because I don't understand.
Straight up, dude.
If you ever need to think about somebody else's life, just watch 2020 or watch some Dateline. So if you don't have that, listen to podcasts. Man, those will get you thinking like, man, you know what? Maybe my life isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, like we were saying, like I mentioned the Holocaust because I know I better know what I'm about to say right now because I was thinking about Schindler's List, right? Remember, like a month ago, I kept telling you about it.
Yes,
because it's so true. It's just like I'm gonna say it again. It's like there's that scene where the Jewish contractor, she's making the barracks for the Nazis at Auschwitz or whatever, and she goes up to the Nazi officer and she's like, hey, like just we have to rebuild these. Like they're gonna collapse. Like we have to rebuild them. Like if we don't, they're gonna collapse at the smallest part of wind. And he just fucking kills her. Just like that is boom, dead. Yeah. And he looks at the other Nazi and goes like, yeah, we should probably start remaking them. It's like she knew her place. She understood her part in the role of this, and all she did was trying to be herself, or not be herself, but just like trying to be as helpful as she can be. And she got killed because of it.
Well, but it almost makes you like, do you ever think to see it from the other side of you? Like she knew that she was probably going to get killed for saying it, but she still figured, I'm still going to say it. Like no regrets. Point. Like at this point, she's already there. God knows what she's seen already. So she had to have known, like, I'm going to walk up and say this, and I'm probably going to get shot, but at least I'll say it, and look what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. I mean, everybody, when you watch movies, you have to see it from your own point of view. Because because then when you get around your friends and you start talking about it, you realize like they have a different point of view than you do. Like I never thought about it the way you just did. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, I look at the people like from the Holocaust and I think these people, they lost family members.
They lost everything.
And yet their thought was, we need to rebuild the Jewish population. And they have. And to me, if that's not inspiration to get your ass up off the couch or out of that bed or out of that corner, I don't know what is.
And like even to go with you, it's like everything is like when I say everything, their hair, their body fat. Yeah. You know, they're in Auschwitz naked, living like from me to, you know, this table away from each other. Everything about them is gone, but they're still laughing. Like obviously they're depressed and whatnot, but survivors say like we just try to keep jokes going. Yeah. Try to keep our humanity. Yeah. Try to keep stories, humor, anything that makes them a human or just makes them, you know, okay in that moment. That's what they value more. And like just to hear that and see that and listen to the survivors talk, it's like for me, like who complains all the time about where I'm in my life, it's like, dude, shut up.
Well, I mean, and I told you, a little while ago about how, me and the girls laugh about some of the crazy shit, the fucked up shit that happened. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe you just said it and it just dawned on me. I think laughing is a sense of you still feel like you're human. Yeah. When you can laugh, even if you laugh at something that's stupid or you laugh at some crazy thing, like some people would be like, you're laughing because your dad told you couldn't eat or he did corporal punishment and you're laughing. Because I think that laughing, it makes you feel like you still have a little bit of humanity left and you're still human.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's okay to cry too. I mean,
that makes you human also.
It makes you human too. That means you still can feel something. It means that you still have a little bit of humanity left and you can still find the humor and stuff. You know what I mean? And then you just run with it, when you fall and bust your ass in front of everybody, if you can't get up and I think my granddad used to say, if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at anything. And I truly believe that. I mean, my kids have fallen downstairs and I laugh at them And they're like, you're laughing at me. And I'm like, because it's funny. Because, I mean, you don't think I'm going to eventually do something stupid? And I have. My kids will tell you stupid stories about me jumping over a tennis thing and busting my ass because I was convinced I could hurdle it.
Yeah.
That did not work out for me. But I still laughed at myself. So,
and you tried it too.
I did. You know, don't be afraid to try things.
Yeah.
God, just if I could go back, and that's the thing, I wouldn't change anything. I just wish somebody would have said, don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. And I mean, when I say that, because when I was growing up, I never had fear because you didn't realize what fear really was. So you have that sense of safety, but you have that I'm inevitable. And that doesn't happen to me. Like, you hear this shit about kids, like, you know, oh, this kid was riding his bike and he broke his leg. Like, that's never going to happen to me because he's an idiot, you know. Then there's that healthy, like, fear. You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid, but, like, don't walk into a house that has, like, skins hanging up on the wall and chainsaws. Like, I mean, you know, that's like...
It keeps you alive.
Yeah. You know, but, like, I wish I wasn't so afraid to go jump out of a plane or go bungee jumping. There's no way.
Okay,
I'm not doing it.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Like, those people that do that, they're like, don't have fear. Like, no, see, I don't, at this point, it's not even just about the heights. I think I don't want to shit or piss on myself.
I get that. Like, I totally get what you're saying, too. 'Cause, like, for me, like, I, like, just being honest, like, I'm a terrified person. Not terrified, but I'm a paranoid person. Will walk, like, I'll park my car back there, and I'll walk to it. It's a 5-minute walk, and you know where
because
we
you
live.
watch way too many scary ass movies.
That's
You
true.
guys watch.
But, like, I'll be afraid. Like, I'm like, I got my keys. Like, I'm ready to fucking kill somebody if it has to. Because that's just who I am.
Right.
But there's a difference between that kind of fear and, like, acknowledging, like, okay, that's a, like, if you can acknowledge, like, that's a petty fear that I have, a petty and anxiety.
It's not really, though. I mean, a lot of people have that. That's a kind of a normal fear. Like, I don't know a lot of people that walk around at night who don't have that fear, you know? Yeah. I mean, even people that don't watch scary movies, there's a reason they don't watch scary movies because they're already terrified. You know what I mean? So I think that's healthy. I think that's a healthy fear. I mean, really, because you think... I think you just it makes you more aware of your surroundings. You know what I mean?
Keeps you alive.
It keeps you alive, exactly. Like, for me, I notice more like stuff like people that are standing there too long. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? It's like totally being a creeper. Like, and I feel like that's more judgmental.
But like
than it is suspect.
But like it's like, and like same like with like judging people and being afraid and like that kind of just like just judging people, right?
Yeah.
Ignore everything I said. Judging people is embedded into us. It's who we are.
Yeah.
It's from when we were in the savannah and there's 3 bushes and I think that one in the middle has a tiger in it. So I'm not going to go in that one. I'm going to go in the left or right one. That's just what's left over from our primal instincts. And so now in today's age, we don't have to worry about the tiger.
Yeah.
But there are things to worry about, so we're going to use it to judge people.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's ugly,
yeah.
right? This guy's fucking weird because he's looking at me. Yeah, we're judging and, like, don't judge people.
Well, it's like people natural. That drive around in white vans with no windows. I automatically think, oh, that's a child molester.
Yeah,
and that's so not fair. I know I shouldn't do that. But, I mean, let's be honest. Anybody that says that looks you dead in the face and is like, I don't judge people, you're like, you're a damn liar.
Yeah.
Like, that, it's a natural instinct.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, I don't know anybody. I don't think I've ever come across anybody that hasn't kind of, like, been judgy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, maybe because they don't realize it, but, like, when you look at somebody and they're like, why would they wear those pants? That's you judging somebody. Mm-hmm. Like, it's as simple as that. I mean, I know people judge me, and I'm okay with that. I don't care. Judge me till hell freezes over. Mm-hmm. There is nothing you're going to say to me that has not been said to me before. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that just all goes into, like, it's different categories. Like, you know, you got the healthy fear. You got the fear that you're like, because I don't know.
Irrational.
Yeah. And, okay, but that to me, like, my husband and my kids being scared of spiders or bugs, I'm like, that's so irrational. And I just laugh at them. But then I think, do I really have any right to judge? I am terrified of frogs. Like, if I hear a frog, I literally, like, lose my shit.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want to hear my weird one?
What?
Showers.
Why?
I don't know.
Because you watch Bates Motel?
No, I don't know. I just really, like, I can shower in the morning, but at night, I can't shower. I just get, like, just full of anxiety.
Really?
I just cannot shower at night. I feel like it has to do with, like, one time I had, like, a super, super bad anxiety attack in that shower, like, at my house. So I feel like maybe that's why. Maybe if I move out and have a different shower, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But even, like, today, like, whenever I just shower at night, in the morning, like I said, I can shower in the morning, but at night, just super anxiety because I feel like it's just, like, a sense of, like, vulnerability. Right, like if I fall,
I get that.
Like it's very easy for me to slip and fall and crack my head open.
Like there's more people awake, so if you fall, somebody's gonna hear you during the day.
It's just my, like, I can't explain it. It's just my irrational fear, right? Whenever I go into the shower at night, I just get super anxious.
But that's not okay. See, but to me, that's not totally weird because growing up, like when we were in high school, when I was living with my aunt, she would not shower in the house alone. Would like totally forbid it. And if, like, we were going somewhere, she would make us stay until after she took a shower. She, as far as I know, this woman to this day, she would never shower unless somebody was in the house. Like, would not.
Oh,
And I'm like, I remember we used to think it was weird. And, I mean, because, I showered by myself. I showered with nobody in the house, you know, but she really did not. Like, it, and we could never figure it out. We used to make fun of her all the time. Because we would tell her, like, okay. She'd be like, you guys can't leave. And we'd be like, okay. And we'd make it sound like we left. And she would lose her shit, dude. She'd come running out, like, buck naked, wet, and like, you guys. And like, okay, calm down. Yeah, dude, I'm serious. Like, full on, was terrified of being alone in the house and showering.
Sweet.
And her thing was, she used to tell, well, what if I fall? Like, but then as I got older, I realized, like, it made a lot more sense than I realized. Because when you're young, you're like, lady, you ain't going to fall. Like, you'll be all right. But now, like, I've almost fallen in the shower.
Yeah.
So I get it. And that kind of scares me now that I think about it. Like, I'm never going to shower without anybody in the house now.
There you go.
But then again, Jacob, I'm never alone.
Yeah, right? You have... got a full household.
Never alone. Like, my kids, when I get in the shower, they automatically are like, Mom's in the shower. She's trapped. She has to listen to us now. Like, look, you little shit.
That's so funny. Of course they do.
Well, because, if you think about it, whenever they're talking to me, I literally just walk off or I tune them out. I don't have a choice. They have me. I'm literally trapped in a shower. I'm like, what am I going to do? I could get out, but I have shampoo on my head.
Yeah.
Those little shits, they know what they're doing. So, it's like I go to the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom, and here comes all my kids. I'm like, what? What? I can't lock the door. I remember when I first started dating my husband, he was witness to them coming into the bathroom when I would go to the bathroom or I would take a shower. And he's like, why don't you lock the door? And I was like, let me show you what happens when I lock the door. I lock the door and I get in the shower. They were sitting there with their fingers under the door. Because they were little, and they were like, Mom, why do you have the door locked? And when I came out, he was like, dear God. And I was like, I told you, they will eat through the door if they have to.
That's so funny.
So, for me to say that, like, I'm literally never alone, like, I'm really not. But in the emotional part, you can be alone still. You know what I mean? Like, you can physically have somebody there, but emotionally, you can still be alone. Because, sometimes people just don't understand what you're going through. But then again, it's like I tell my kids, I can't understand you and I can't help you if you don't talk to me. And the same thing goes for everybody. You can't expect somebody you can't look at them and go, well, you don't understand. Okay, well, then I want you to explain it to me. Take the time to listen to them. Just because you think it's like, is that really that important? It's important to them. So,
exactly. I like that. I think that is something people definitely don't value, myself included. Don't think about it. It's like, yeah, it sounds stupid to you. It sounds ridiculous to you. It doesn't matter to you. but it does to them.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, sometimes, like, and I catch myself doing it. When the girls have come home, like, I feel like it's Telemundo when they come home from work. Mm-hmm. And I'm, like, sitting there, and I'm like, this really? But then I realize, like, this is important to them. And so as much as it pains me, I do listen. But, I mean, that goes for anybody out there. You know, that goes for family members, friends. Like, if you're really a good friend, even if you think it's stupid or you're like, well, is that really a problem? It is a problem for them. So just sit there and listen. Because when they say you don't understand, that's probably what they mean is that you just don't care. So try to understand their point of view.
Yeah, I like
Try to put yourself in their shoes. Literally, put yourself in their shoes. Like, sit there, close your eyes, and think about what they're saying to you, and put yourself in their shoes. And then maybe you just might think, oh, okay, now I see why this is important to you. You know, and just be a listener. Sometimes just if you just sit and listen to somebody, that's all they want.
Totally.
They just want to unload some shit. And sometimes you got to take someone's shit. And that's okay. Because then you can go on and pass it on to somebody else. You can be like, this is my problem today. Mm-hmm. And you get to unload your shit onto somebody. Just like they get to do it to you. Mm-hmm. But always be a good listener. You know, you want somebody to listen to you, then you have to give them the same respect. Be a good friend. Be a good mom, dad, brother, sister, anything. Whatever you are, make sure you understand, you know, just because that's not what you're going through doesn't mean that they're not feeling that, you know? Mm-hmm. So, because, I mean, you know, you get siblings that are totally opposite from each other. One's gothic, one's not. And you think like, oh, my God, like, your life is so easy compared to mine. But really, is it? Like, if you really sat down and actually listened to them, could you come to the realization that, is it really that different? It may not seem like the same problem, but maybe it is. Mm-hmm. Just because your guys' friends are different, you know? I think, you know, you got to remember that. So, I don't know. That's my take on that.
I like it. Got any ghost or alien stories?
Some what?
Ghost or alien stories?
Bro, no. I mean, you're talking to the wrong person. You need to talk to Casey about that.
Yeah?
He's all about that shit. You know how he is? I tell you all the time, like, Casey, I grew up with religion, and Casey is a believer in UFOs and aliens. Like, he watches Ancient Aliens. Like, oh, my God. Like, you know how people they read the Bible? Like, okay, nothing against people that read the Bible, but people, like, they read the Bible. They depend on it. Casey's one of those people, like, he watches Ancient Aliens, and he's like, I knew it. I believe it. And you're like, okay. And I just embrace it because I'm like, it's a different aspect for me.
Well, don't tell Casey this, but I obviously tell Casey this, but I watched like a whole YouTube video of them like totally like going over the whole series of Ancient Aliens and like poking the plot holes out in their stories.
Well, yeah. I mean, but you can do that with anything.
That's
though.
True. The Bible.
I mean, the Bible, yeah. God, the holes you could poke in that. And let's not even that whole thing is a whole nother podcast because I feel like people don't really understand, like, okay, that movie, The Da Vinci Code, there's more to that than that people don't realize. Mm-hmm. Like the Vatican, they are powerful people and they can hide some serious shit. And I don't think people, I mean, and it comes to a lot of religious people that don't want to believe in it. That like, no. But like you guys are putting all your faith into a book that was written by men 1,000 years ago, like over 1,000 years ago. And you know how, okay, I guess the best way to describe it is, you know, when you were like little and you played that phone, like telephone, you played that game, telephone.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so your teacher would tell you like a secret. And by the time it got all the way around, it wasn't even what it started off to be. I feel like in a way, does anybody ever think that's how the Bible is? Like, these are stories that have been passed down, that have been rewritten because this is not even the original Bible.
And, like, from different languages, too.
Yes. I mean, who... I just don't. I don't even...
Well, like the number one... Like, not the number one thing, but, like, one of the things like, I bring up when it comes to the Bible and how, like... flip the coin it is, like... It says in the Bible, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Mm-hmm. But then Jesus is all about forgiveness and loving you for who you are. Like literally, those are the exact opposite of each other.
Those right there. That's a what do you call it?
continuity error.
Yeah, well, it's your contradiction. It's
a contradiction. Yeah,
contradiction. So so this is my take. I'm not saying that some of the stuff in the Bible is not true. Like, so I'm not saying that some of it didn't happen. I just feel like there's more to the story that was not written or has not been put in these Bibles. Because, the conspiracy theory is Mary Magdalene, who was the one Jesus washed her feet. Mary Magdalene actually wound up being Jesus' wife, and she wrote scripture. She wrote just like John, Paul, and all them, but the Vatican wouldn't put it in the Bible because she was a woman. That's the conspiracy theory.
I like that.
That Jesus actually does have a bloodline. I mean, wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't you want Jesus to have a bloodline? If this man walked on water, he healed the blind, would you not want that bloodline to continue?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense? And you're telling me that he was a man who didn't have, like, those kind of, like, urges?
Yeah.
Nobody's that way.
But, and, like, the same thing, it's like, where's the fucking dragons? Where's the orcs? These things have been around for fucking millennials.
Yeah.
But those aren't real.
Right.
Those don't exist.
Exactly.
Wizards don't exist.
Exactly.
Vampires don't exist, but Jesus was like,
yeah.
Of course, Jesus was real.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. He walked on water.
Right.
He turned water into wine. But that's exactly my point. Oh my God.
Got any stories of you just looking around your surroundings and just being like, what the fuck? Where am I?
You mean like a Twilight Zone moment?
Kind of.
I don't know. I really have to think about that because I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just been things that like people have done that you kind of like step back like, what? It's just weird. I mean, okay, you know what? Here's a moment. Okay, 9/11. That was one of those moments. I can tell you right there, because I remember because I was pregnant, and I remember standing in front of the TV, and the first plane hit, and at this time they're still in the news talking about, oh, it's a small plane, blah blah blah. It wasn't until I got to work, and I mean, it was literally was one of those moments like, what? Like, because you think to yourself, like, this is not happening in the United States. Like, this doesn't happen. This kind of shit doesn't go down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this happens in, like, Afghanistan and, fucking Russia and shit like that. You don't think, like, it happens in the United States. So, that was one of those moments right there. That was definitely a moment because I remember being at work. We were watching TV when the second plane flew into the building, and it was so astronomical. You were, like, literally your mind was blown because you're like, that just fucking happened. Like, oh my God, that's here in the United States. That's in New York. Mm-hmm. And at this point, that's when you have one of those moments. Like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. Almost like you feel like, oh, no, like I'm not awake. Like this is a dream. Like this is a fucking Twilight moment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the Twilight Zone, you're like, oh, I'm in it. Yeah, that was one of those moments, I have to say. For me, definitely. So, yeah, that was mind-blowing.
What do you think deja vu is?
Ooh. I think, in my opinion, I think it's that it's another life that you lived.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think after, what's after death? We didn't really go over that.
I don't know, because I've been told so many things because I've come from my grandparents.
Well, so like you say that's another life you live. What do you mean by that?
Well, because I believe when I have deja vu, and I think because I've had it, mm-hmm. And I know for a fact, I'm like, why would I have deja vu? Like I've never been there.
Mm-hmm. I've had that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's one of those moments where I start thinking, is there an afterlife? Do you come back as somebody else? And for some people, my mom goes and sees this psychic who has told her that, that she's was such and such person in a past life. So to a certain extent, yeah, I believe that. I think maybe I just don't want to believe that after you die, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to believe that.
On my first episode, the guest said, it's more far-fetched that we're like sacks of meat floating on a rock in this vacuum we call space than it is to believe that there's something going on. There's spirituality, Christianity, Judaism, whatever you want to believe. Like, that's more realistic than we're just rocks. We're just meat on a rock. Like, that's way more far-fetched, don't you?
I don't. I truly. I don't know. Okay. In my opinion, I believe that I don't believe that it just ends after you die. Mm-hmm. I just don't. And I mean, of course, you're going to have people that argue that, and they're going to be like, well, this and this. Well, okay. But in my opinion, I think there's too many things that are facts. Like, you having deja vu and knowing that you were never there, but you have deja vu of being in there. Like, it's a whole full body emotion. Like, why do I feel like I've been here? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I've never been here. How do you explain that?
Mm-hmm. And like for me, I've had like good deja vu and bad deja vu.
Right.
Like, I went on this on a previous episode, but I'll tell you, it's like I went to this like college that I really, 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 really wanted to go to at the time, and I still do. And I just go down there, and I go into this like room in the college because we snuck in and we weren't supposed to be there, and it's a story on its own. But I go to this area and I look at this like picture on the wall, and it's just like this like drawing, and it says caterpillars are scary. And I had like the most intense deja vu I've ever had, and it was like such a good feeling. Like, this is right. I'm supposed to be here. Whatever this leads, I'm doing it right here.
Right.
And like the trippiest part about that is, I took a picture too. I'll show you if you want. Like, that even proves it more. Like, I took a picture of it. You know what I mean? But right before I got on the airplane to go to California, right, doing this huge thing, my mom, we are talking about Trump, right? The most like mundane thing, whatever. Yeah. And then out of nowhere, she just like goes like, "What do you think deja vu is?" And I'm like, I tell her what I think it is. And then I have that, and then I have another day, like a super intense deja vu with my friend down there in California, and like we connected, right? Because I was like, like I said, I'm a very paranoid person, and when you smoke fucking weed, those don't go together that well, right? They don't. And so I was getting super paranoid, and I was like, he's gonna kill me. This was the whole thing to get me down here. He's gonna kill me because he had this motherfucker. To be fair, this motherfucker had knives all over his house.
Okay, yeah, I would probably be a little paranoid
because it's California, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And shit, like literally, like just like in secret, like behind like this wooden thing, you could like slide it and there'd be a knife straight up, like shit like that.
Okay, that's like serial killer shit.
Yeah, so I'm like high as fuck, and I'm like, dude, like I just straight up asked him, I'm so funny, I'm just like, are you gonna kill me? Like, just be honest with me, man. Are you gonna kill me?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, dude. Like, I'm what? And like, there's a knife right there, dog. Just, are you gonna do it? And he's like, dude, no, I'm not. He takes the knife, he like throws it across. Like, I'm not. And like, we bonded, right? And it's like such a good feeling. And then I've had other deja vu where I went to my friend's house here, and they're painting their house, and I'm helping them, and the guy that previously owned it just passed away and whatever. And I just like the first time I'm in there, I just feel it, and I'm like. Such bad deja vu.
Really?
Like, I've died in this house before. Like,
okay, that's
I knew
creepy.
that. Yeah, it was
that's
pretty
like
weird. Like, I fucking just knew intuition. That's a whole nother topic.
No,
on
like
its own.
I totally believe you because I mean, I personally have never had a bad case of deja vu. I've always might have never been like super great, but like might have been like I feel like I'm connected to this place, but I don't know how the fuck I'm connected to it. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, so you asked me a while back about, like, if I had any ghost stories or anything like that. Okay, I just remembered when I was very little, I think I was, like, 5, and we were living in this house. I had my own room. And I remember, for some odd reason, I woke up, straight up out of my bed, and I looked over. Okay, like, so you walk in my room, and my door's right here, and then my closet is right next to my door. Mm-hmm. And then you walk in the rest of the way to my room. And I remember I sat up straight in my bed. And you know how they say, like, as a kid you remember like certain things, like trauma things that happened to you. I distinctly remember sitting up in my bed and I looked over by my closet and there was a man standing there. Whoa. A man in a suit. And I stood and I remember looking at him, and it took me a minute to realize, like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Mm-hmm. And I was screaming, and my dad came running in, and my dad was like, what's going on? And I was like, there's a man in my room. And of course my dad is like, what the fuck do you mean there's a man in your room? So he starts checking everything. The windows are shut, locked, everything. And he's like, and so he starts talking to me like, what? Explain it to me, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw him again one other time, but then that was it. I never and I mean, I don't even know what the history was behind this house, but it was just super weird because I think, well, of course, it was my brothers that told me the story, so it's about as far-fetched as it can be because they used to tell me I came from the dog pound too. But they were like, oh, yeah, somebody died in this house. And I was like, why? Why did you tell me that? Yeah. But, yeah, so that legit happened to me. Well, so, I mean, I totally get the whole – I'm so on board with you about the whole deja vu. Like, I really am. I have never experienced bad deja vu, like that feeling like this is a bad experience for me.
Can I tell you before you continue?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So, with that house story, right, that guy died in it, right?
Right.
And so, I've never slept in there. I've like, as soon as I felt that feeling, I was like, I'm never fucking sleeping here. My house is 2 blocks away. Right. I will walk. I'm not sleeping here.
Even if my house is like 30 miles away, I'm still walking.
Straight up. And to this day, I never have, right? But my friend sleeps in there or lives there. She lives there. Yeah. And she has nightmares all the time. Like sleep paralysis, right? Waking up and there's like demons attacking her and shit like that. Yeah. Like, I can go more into that, or she could. Maybe I'll bring her on. She can tell those stories because it happens all the time about her like waking up from demons like attacking her in her dreams. But the creepiest part, and if you're listening to this, because we found out and we didn't tell her because like she lives with her boyfriend or whatever, right? Uh-huh. And he told me, but we didn't tell her just to save her sanity. But in the guest room, where she slept in the guest room one time and like she had this dream in that guest room and then she's not slept in there since, but she's had other dreams in the living room too. But in that guest room, underneath the carpet, there's a red stain. Yep. There's a it's concrete and there's a red stain on the carpet.
No.
Yep. That's what he
Why wouldn't you guys tell her?
Why would we tell her?
Bro, that's fucked up. I would be so mad. I would be like, what? I'd be like, we are not real friends. Like, you are not my friend no more. We are not homies. How could you? Dude, no, you tell your homies about shit like that. No. Oh, Jacob, no. If you're listening and this is you don't, you know what? Unfriend him.
Get the fuck out that house.
Get out of the house. Move. Live in a dumpster before you live in that house any longer. No. Hell no. The moment I found a blood stain, I'd be like, we out.
Right? Never. Well, dude, in my apartment, and like I've only had 2 experiences in my apartment, and I probably will tonight since we're talking about it, right?
I swear to God, if I go home and some shit happens to me, Jacob, I will never speak to you again. I swear, dude.
Yeah, dude. So at my apartment, like I think it hadn't even been a month because I still like was able to. I still like would be like, yeah, like it had to be like the first week or whatever, me like living in there. I'm like laying on like my mattress in the bed and I'm laying like this, like laying on my side facing the wall, and I just feel something like on my bed, like a cat just go like that, just like move on like totally just like how I did it with my hand. My blanket just go like just shake.
Okay, and let's make a point. Jacob does not have a cat.
No cats.
No cats.
And so I was like, no fucking way. I was out. I left, and like I still live there now. And so like ever since then, like nothing has happened. But I did have something like the man. I sleep with lights on. I've always slept with lights on since I was a kid, and I will till I die because I can't stand sleep paralysis. I can't. That shit terrifies me.
Oh my God, dude, I've had that before.
I would like to hear it, but just like real quick, I woke up one time and there was just a shadow standing right next to my bed, and I have my lights on, right? So like, just a shadow figure just standing in my bed, just staring at me. It's just a blur, but that scared the fuck out of me.
Jacob, you're an ass because I am parked in the back, dude.
I'll walk with you.
Dude, oh my God. You know what? No, I just came to the realization right now. Okay, it's not what's in your house. It's you. It's got to be you. So you need to go burn some sage on yourself.
We sage our house all the time.
No. Like, you need to sage yourself, okay? Fuck the house. Sage yourself. Because I truly believe something has attached himself to you and it's just following you.
Why do you
it's
say
not
that?
because you have these bad premonitions, basically. You have these bad premonitions, okay? So or these deja vus. And then this shit is happening in your apartment, and no, dude, you need to like sage yourself.
Oh my God.
Because at this point, there's a good chance it's something you went somewhere and it attached itself to you, and it literally is following you. So you need to like sage yourself and be like, look, you got to go. We can't hang out anymore. We're not homies. Like, you have to go.
That's scary, dog.
I mean, I don't mean to scare you but I mean, my mom truly is a believer in that stuff. And so here's the story. So the first Halloween we were here, my dumbass kids, okay, and mind you, I did tell you in this thing, I do love my children, okay, but they are dumbasses. So we're trick-or-treating, and we go to this neighborhood, and they're coming to meet us. These idiots walk across a graveyard. Okay, they're walking across the cemetery.
Oh my God, yeah.
Dude, I straight up looked at him and I said, "You're not getting in my car." No, because that is the worst place to do that. Especially at night. And I don't care if people think I'm crazy, but like spirits, things like that attach themselves to you, and they will follow you home. So like, I made the girls sage them. I made them like do this little like, you need to go back home. Like, don't touch me. You can't come home with me. And then I saged them because I'm not bringing demons, spirits, whatever you want to call it. No, you're not coming home with me. And I told my kids, I was like, you ever walk across the cemetery or graveyard, anything like that, I will kill you myself. I'm not even joking, because just you. Oh my God, dude, just stupid. Yeah. So sleep paralysis. I've had that experience, and my kids have watched me have it. Casey has too. They've had to wake me up, as I've had a dream where I'm trapped and I cannot wake up. Okay, have you ever had that dream where you literally know you're awake, but you cannot wake up and you cannot scream? Okay, I've done that, and Casey's had to wake me up because I've had that. Like, literally just lashing on the couch. Dude, I hate that feeling. I absolutely hate it. It's the most terrifying thing in the world.
I've had a couple of dreams like that. They're scary.
That is scary.
What do you think dreams are?
I don't know. I mean, because I had a dream book. My ex-husband actually, his sister gave it to him. And I remember reading it. And I think dreams are however you really want to interpret it. I mean, some dreams are just dreams. And some can be premonitions. Some can be, because you could be going through something and not realize it, and your body and your mind is trying to tell you in a dream somehow, maybe. I mean, have you ever had a dream like of a dead family member, like where you're dreaming and they show up and you're like, you're dead. Why are you here? And then you start thinking, like,
I haven't had really anyone serious in my life die yet.
Well, I've had one with my granddad and my grandma show up. And it wasn't anything serious. It was just more or less, I think, because after I woke up, it was like a comfort feeling, and I had been so stressed out, and I think it was just a reminder, like, I'm not alone, like, I'm okay. But I know I've heard people like have dreams about dead ones, and like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I think the whole dream thing, I think it can be in itself almost scary. And it almost doesn't, you almost don't want to go to sleep. Like, you kind of like, now I see why crackheads don't go to sleep.
Yeah, dude, I'm a pretty vivid dreamer. Like, I take dreams, deja vu, ghosts, anything like that as signs of the universe trying to tell you something. Like,
yeah, I totally agree.
Anxiety and depression this is what a hippie chick told me. Anxiety and depression is your body telling the soul you are not where you're supposed to be at in your life right now.
That makes sense.
Because think about it, anxiety is you feel it. It's your gut. You just like it's eating you up inside of you. It's like you shake. Like it wants to. It's like trying to eat you.
Yeah.
Depression's trying to pull you down. It just pulls and pulls you down, and it's like it is. Your soul has a set path, and once you start, going to like with that house, right? I'm like I love that person. I really do. I really do love that person. I want the best for that person. But for what I'm like at the time, what I was trying to do with my life, and even to this day, what I'm trying to do with my life, they're just not going down that path.
Yeah.
And so it's like I have to just not be with you right
Yeah.
now. Doesn't mean I don't care about you, but like that's what the universe was telling me in that scenario. With like if you keep hanging out at this house, you're gonna die here. Let's say maybe I we keep hanging out there, and like one day I'd try doing coke, right, and then I'd overdose, right, stuff like that. So you have to listen to that intuition. Your intuition is such a huge topic on its own, but I totally believe in intuition and basically just listening to your brain, following your heart, trusting your gut.
Well, I mean, it's always been that way though. To be honest with you, I think one of the best advice I ever got was actually from my granddad. He used to tell me, always listen to what your mind and your body is telling you, because your intuition will be your greatest weapon in life, because it'll tell you like something's not right, and you have to listen to it. You know what I mean? Like anxiety. When you get anxiety, sometimes, because like I used to get anxiety and panic attacks when I left my second husband, because I always had the fear when somebody would knock on the door, I literally would like curl up in a ball, and I could feel the anxiety and the panic coming on. You know what I mean? But yeah, intuition is listen, be intuitive, be in sync with your body and your mind, because it's going to be, it'll get you through whatever's going on. It really will. And I don't think people realize this. Like your body and your mind tell you when something's not right. You know what I mean? You just got to listen to it. And I just feel like, okay, I know people probably like, that sounds like some hippie shit, but take it however you want. But I know when I finally took a step back and started listening to what my dreams, my intuition, my gut was telling me, I started realizing like, I need to go get checked up. I need to go get this done. Just be in tune to your body. It's
mind, body, and soul.
Exactly. And
I think like something that's so interesting, it's not really related, but that there's just proof that we, in our conversation, how we aren't meat sacks, right? Mm-hmm. That there is something, is how we say our mind, right? Because that's what science tells you, is that your consciousness comes from your brain.
Yeah.
But we talk about the brain like it's something that is separate from consciousness. Even in our conversation, we say, listen to your brain. Listen to what your mind tells you. If you're feeling, listen to yourself feeling sad. That's like, if you're weird, like, do you get what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like, I think it's, to me, I think everything is connected in your body. Mm-hmm. Your heart, because your heart can get broken. Mm-hmm. I mean, emotionally, theoretically, and your brain, if you don't take care of your brain and your body, something gets disconnected. I mean, that's why a lot of scientists will tell you, like, the neurological things in your head are all connected. You know what I mean? So connect yourself to that. Your emotions, your fears, they're there for a reason. So it was crazy because I started thinking about when you were talking about like dreams and how you have those like paralyzing dreams. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was coming clean, I was getting clean off cocaine. Mm-hmm. The withdrawals was so unbelievable. I felt like, and I don't know if this is in for anybody else. I know for me, my dreams, I would like have like full on sweat, just like these, like it felt like it was real, and it was like I always felt like I was like falling, and I don't know Like I never like looked more into that. Because I know like that's another thing about dreams. Like you were talking, you asked the question about dreams. I think when you come off any kind of drug, when you're getting clean, I think your body and your mind, they're trying to tell you something. And that's why I think, I don't know how, I mean, because I've talked to Casey about this, and he has weird dreams too. And I think even when he was coming clean and he was getting sober, you almost feel like your dreams are like you're there. And I don't know if it's just the withdrawals and your like the neurological shit that's shooting off because you're not on these drugs, or your body's coming clean. It's trying to figure out how to handle it. But I think that's like another thing with like, I think that's another thing people need to tap into, like look into, you know. I mean, it would make sense, right? Because people that go do, what is that drug?
DMT?
No, not that. It's that that peyote.
Peyote,
yes. Those people like they like if you've ever watched a documentary about people that have done that, I mean, the way they talk about how like the shit that was going on while they were in it, it's like, doesn't it make sense that people that when they have withdrawals and they're coming clean, like the shit that's going through their head, and when they fall asleep, what happens? Like, do you ever wonder what happens when you fall asleep after you've come clean and your body's like, it's like trying to transition into your body being sober? Like, I don't know. I mean, for me, it was just weird. I felt like my whole body and mind was going through this whole acid trip, and I wasn't even on drugs. So weird.
Well, for me, I do meditation. I don't do it a lot.
Yeah.
But, I have done certain meditation practices, and I've had like almost, drug-induced states.
Yeah.
I know for a fact there's like way more levels to it that I have not reached at all. Like I say I do meditation, but I really don't. I do it every now and then, and I like don't go to the level as some people do. You can do certain levels of meditation to get to what you're talking about.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like I've looked into meditation, and I've even tried it a couple of times. I feel like I almost feel like I have ADHD. Like I start to do it, but then I think as a mom, like you sit there and they're like, okay, clear your mind. And for me, it's like, I cannot get to that point.
Well, it's like you're listening to a wrong person then, because you're not supposed to clear your mind. You're supposed to observe your thoughts.
Yeah, but I can't even do that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, I literally, Jacob, seriously, it doesn't matter what I'm listening to. Whatever it is, all I can start thinking is like, I have to pay the utility bill. Like, oh my God, what time does Paige's like just going on? And it's like, that's why I'm telling you, like, I really would like to I would love to learn how to just calm my whole body and just think about, like, concentrate on my breathing and just be in that moment. I would love to be those people that meditate and go to like a whole, like, it's almost like they're on like fucking drugs. I mean, I would love to be. I just, anybody want to volunteer? I'm down. I would be open to any of it. I just can't. All the apps, I feel like just don't. I've even listened to Matthew McConaughey on the Calm app thing. Dude, I love listening to his voice, but it's like after it's done, all I can think about is the list of shit that I have to take care of. So I can't get to that point.
Well, I can tell you this. What I do when I start to feel a little anxiety coming on, start to feel like, just like what you're saying, like to ground your breathing, I do this breathing exercise. 4 seconds in, through the nose, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, 4 seconds, no breathing.
Okay.
And you just you just try to focus on only those seconds, right? You just 1, 2. I can't do it while I'm talking, but like you have to do it in your brain, right?
Right.
You breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
And then you just don't breathe it out for 4 seconds, and then you just keep doing that until you're calm.
Yeah.
And it's I think a lot of people, I think a problem when it comes to people being like, whoa, meditation, that's stupid. Meditation's for fucking hippies, right? Druggies. It's because we're not teaching people listen to the people who are teaching it wrong. It's not about, like I was saying, it's not about clearing your thoughts. It's about observing your thoughts and just observing consciousness on its own. Just observing, like, Paige has practice at 7. I have to do the dishes. You're not putting any you're not judging those thoughts. You're not saying, oh, why are you thinking that? You're stupid. Don't think of that thought.
Yeah, but see, and that's where I go to.
Exactly. So that's what you're doing wrong.
Okay.
Is that you're judging your thoughts. You're not supposed to judge your thoughts. You're supposed to just observe Joe have thoughts instead of Joe's having thoughts.
Well, like, I think it's like secretly, like, I wish I could be like those yoga chicks.
Yeah.
But I can't. Anyways, what time is it? Oh, Lord.
Gotta go?
Yeah.
Well, that was nice.